And we're the horror hippies. And today we are so excited. We're doing an interview, our second interview ever with Brian Hanson. And he is the director of The Bunker, which just came out. It is starring Chelsea Edmundson, Tobin Bell from Saw, and Tony Todd, which is really cool.
So pour one out, one of his last films.
Yeah. So what is The Bunker about, Steve?
Well, I'm so glad that you asked, Erica, because
when mysterious alien ships appear in the sky, a scientist is sealed in an underground bunker and must create a bioweapon to stop the unknown visitors. But paranoia and isolation cause her to question the true intention of her mission.
Needed a couple breaths for that one. But yeah, it's really exciting, high concept, sci-fi.
Sci-fi bunker.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest icons of horror ever.
I mean, you got Tony Todd, you got Tobin Bell, you got a variety of kills that are all unique and interesting.
Yeah,
you got some cool, fun effects. And it's got a snappy runtime. I think it's the perfect movie you should watch tonight on all the various streaming platforms because it's available now, and that's what you should do. But until then, you can watch and listen to us do the interview that we're introing right now.
Okay.
All right, thanks for joining us. Right here, let's get to it. We've got Brian Hanson, the director of The Bunker. Thanks, Brian, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Love this podcast. Love the vibe, what you guys are doing.
Thanks so much. We're so excited because we've been getting more into interviews. So you're actually our second interview, which we're just really, really thrilled about. So a funny connection between our first two interviews. So we had interviewed
Aviv and Leanne, and they made a movie called Lizzie Lazarus, and that premiered at Popcorn Frights. So did your movie. So did our movie.
So I don't know if you're aware of that, but we had our world premiere of Old Wounds at the same festival you had your world premiere of The Bunker. So I love those kind of connections in horror and filmmaking. How was your experience with festivals and getting audiences on The Bunker?
Well, Popcorn Frights was amazing out there in Fort Lauderdale. Igor and Mark. Just, I mean, what a wonderful experience they built out there. And Fort Lauderdale is beautiful. Are you kidding me? So it was amazing to be there. I wasn't able to see your movie out there. Were you on the first weekend or the second weekend?
Yeah, we were there the first weekend. So we missed you, unfortunately.
Yeah. We missed you as well. We still had a great time. And it was fantastic. Now, the interesting story, you were asking about the festival circuit and the reception of the movie. Obviously, having Tony Todd and Tobin Bell in your movie is going to get a reaction from horror and genre audiences and festivals. So, people just, they have fun with the sci-fi little thriller, kind of midnight thriller, but really it's like, what was it like working with Tony and Tobin and their icons? I was thrilled my mind was blown that I was able to work with them as well. So I love chatting about that at the festivals. It's like, I know this is what you want to talk about. And I agree. Tony had two movies that were playing at Popcorn Frights, and this is RIP a legend, right? He was due to fly out and do a Q&A for both movies and sign autographs and be with the people. And last minute, he was to be there for The Bunker and another film, God forgive me for forgetting this. It was a really heartfelt movie where Tony was kind of a mentor figure, and there was a guy befriending a dog. It was really heartwarming and sort of tear-jerking, weird Twilight Zone-y film. And we just got Igor, pulled us aside and was like, man, Tony can't make it. He can't get on the plane. And this is sort of when it became, and he kept it very hush hush, and it became evident that maybe Tony wasn't doing so well, because he's not the guy that misses something like that. He is a crowd pleaser. He is a man of the people at conventions, anything. So it wasn't a bummer for our movie. That was a bummer for like, whoa, Tony must really be in a place And, though, he filmed this video and kind of a heartfelt message to the crowd. Just, I can't be there with you. I wish I could. It's on YouTube now. He's sitting on a couch and he delivered this message, and it was almost as good as having him there because it was so real and so heartfelt. And he put everything into being able to record this video for the people. So that was our Popcorn Frights experience. It was bittersweet. It was amazing. Yeah. It was beautiful, but it really was the moment that we kind of all became aware of Tony's situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing that he was supposed to be there and being so sad that he wasn't.
What in your wildest dreams could you have imagined casting Tobin and Tony, or how did that come about?
There's no way in the same movie. Well, I did hear, excuse me, I listened to the last interview that you did, and with Lizzie Lazarus. Yeah, the Lizzie Lazarus filmmakers, and they're here in Los Angeles, and there's a lot of making a movie during COVID talk, and we're right there with you. So we made this when we were all sitting around in 2020 lockdowns in LA, and like tail end, like, what could we do? Are we ever going to make a movie again? When is the industry going to get back up? And we were sitting in a space where I graduated. A little about me. I was in the Army. I have a chapter 1 in Hollywood. I was a student filmmaker, a film student. Then I was doing the PA thing. I was bartending. I was making my short films, and ended up joining the Army, called to adventure and to serve my country. And so I was gone for 4 years. Deployed to Afghanistan several times with the 75th Ranger Regiment. Definitely checked a lot of boxes on the life experience front. And I came back and recommitted to kind of a chapter 2. And I was able to use a GI Bill to go to film school again and earn an MFA at Mount St. Mary's. Met a lot of great people there. Made my first feature because I met Rich Hanley, and we produced The Black String. So right after we had a great festival run and released that, here's 2020. And what are we going to do next? And we all know we're here around St. Patrick's Day, the whole world shut down. So Charles Bunce, who also produced on The Black String, he runs the film program at Mount St. Mary's. They got this empty building, and they're actually having to move locations. And it's like, is this just going to sit here? Can we do anything? And it was a very austere building. And we kind of reverse engineered, what can you do in this space? And we're both sci-fi horror folks, and we love the weird tale. And what can you do in isolation with these rules, with these COVID rules, and who's willing to come out? It's a long way of getting to the point of, we hooked up with Blood Oath, which is the kind of partner company with Paper Street Pictures about helping independent filmmakers get their, helping them out creating a movie. And part of their deal was that they can help you cast if they're into the project. And so we worked with Aaron Cameron. David Guglielmo was over there at Blood Oath, and he's a great casting director, really established in the horror space. And we were going out to folks, and Tobin Bell and Tony Todd became real options in this moment. And I'm going to have to say, I don't think they were as busy as they normally were, as nobody was, but I couldn't believe it. I was like, there's no way that these two names can be available at the same time for our little, nearly a DIY, like indie sci-fi horror film. So that's how that happened. It was lightning in a bottle, not under the greatest circumstances, but it was part of that greater, like, who's willing to come out and do something in this unknown moment. And I admire our crew, our cast, everybody who was willing to, like, in some uncertain times, come out and jump on a set and live in our little bubbles. We were a very small crew, maybe 15 people, but so it was easier to go into the little pods as you were supposed to, the A group, the B group, everyone wearing masks, taking it off right before the take. Anyway, that's my way of saying we were another COVID movie in a time when we all wondered, when are we going to be able to make a movie again?
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
And what an incredible opportunity for you to see more of the world and just broaden your perspective and then be able to bring that back into your creative endeavors. And then, it really is about being prepared for the moment And it's not like, it's not like you just had this thing fall into your lap out of nowhere. You put in work and effort, and you had made a film with Frankie Muniz. That I love that you were able to cast him in your first film. And then when the time came at this kind of perfect, like you said, lightning in a bottle, you were ready and to take advantage of that opportunity. Because that easily could have slipped by, a year later, that wouldn't have been possible probably. So the fact that you were ready for that moment, and that's kind of what we did with Old Wounds, and just being like that exact thought process that you had of like, well, this is kind of a bad situation, and we can either let this crush us and just we just don't do anything with this moment, or we could try to turn this around and make this into an advantage. And you certainly did. And then to go from this opportunity, like you said, a small crew, kind of one location film, and then suddenly you're premiering at major festivals, and with Tony Todd, suddenly you're being mentioned in the same articles as Final Destination Bloodlines. And what a ride to go, that's, over the course of a few years. But yeah, I'm so glad you took advantage of that.
I know this is gets into the nuts and bolts and the real, keeping it real on making indie films. We stepped into the science fiction space here. We didn't have to do this. We could have chosen a art department VFX, a more friendly genre, but it was science. Sci-fi. This space looks so sci-fi, and we could build a Star Trek door. My Ranger buddy, actually, Mike Taylor, he's a carpenter too. I was like, hey, do you think you could build a Star Trek door? So we were YouTubing Star Trek doors, and we build one. We're like, that kind of works. And we go to Home Depot and buy some piping and put it down a wall. And like, that kind of works. And then we started doing little test shoots of us trying the Zoom thing. Like, can we shoot someone and then shoot another person and cut it in a way that it even seems like they're talking to each other? There was a high degree of difficulty in pulling this off. And so we did a fair amount of test shooting on iPhones, if you will, with us, not professional actors. And we're like, hey, that's working. And so we kind of slowly rolled into it. We R&D'd it in a sense before we really went and did it. I will say though, what I learned, and the COVID of making a movie during COVID, it wasn't just that 1 year. It was 2021. It was 2022. It was 2023. It was still touch and go, and people were in a really in between place, coming and going, and it was tough to. Everybody was like in different headspaces or dealing with different situations. So even dealing with vendors, it was a really tough time. It had some all-stars, and then there was folks that just had a lot going on, and deadlines didn't always happen the way that they normally would. So that whole COVID life, I think I've talked to other filmmakers too at these festivals, and they were like, yeah, just start to finish. It wasn't just the 18 days on set, it was like all the way through post. And I would say that on the science fiction tip, what we learned is when you create a world, when you set out to say, if it's fantasy, if it's period piece, if it's science fiction, you have to deliver that every single place that camera swings. And, oh, wait, nothing's on that monitor back there. Oh, wait, we saw a regular door. Oh, wait, we have to paint that out. Oh, wait, what's on that screen? What screen replacement is there? What screen replacement is there? And that is what I would say for the science fiction folks out there who have done it or thinking about it. Be aware of what you're stepping into and be ready to deliver that. And we took a lot of time on post to pull that off, because so much of it really was of our own effort and pulling up YouTube videos to teach us ourselves how to do certain things. It was a great learning experience, and we really sort of expanded our own skill set, but it takes time. And science fiction is a commitment unless you keep it like Her, super lo-fi. That's why I admire what you guys are doing with found footage. It's so about keeping it real.
Yeah, you shot your tests on iPhones. We shot the actual movie on iPhones.
But yeah, I was going to say, watching your movie, like all of the things that you would have had to do in post, all the screens, all of that, like, sound and everything. I thought that was a lot of work.
You probably initially thought wow, this will be a simple idea. One person in one tiny location. And then in post, you were probably like, oh God, every single screen, news reports, alien attack.
100%. You're like, well, that's a mini production. That's a mini production. That's a mini production. Where are you going to get that? Where are you going to get this? And 100%. And just like, oh, who's going to create the banner for the news? Who's, the little lower third? What about all the UI, all the user interface? And we had some great people jump in and help us out, like a lot of just people pitching in where they could. But no, all that stuff. So I was spending days reading the artists' well-paid, highest level art post team that created all the UI interface for the film The Martian. I was like reading 30-page articles, and I was like, yes, that's the world I was in. I was reading UI creation for film.
That's amazing.
I didn't see that coming. When we had that idea in the early days and excited about Tobin and Tony joining us, I didn't know that I would be nerding out on like user interface on The Martian articles.
Because I see you don't just direct, you write, you produce, you edit, you do some special effects. So it's great to have such a wide toolkit for smaller productions that you can tackle a lot of that stuff. But then that is also the problem, is then you kind of are expected to tackle all of that stuff. But you pulled it off. You did a great job. I mean, this goes back to the classic, like John Carpenter, of just taking this really grand concept of an alien invasion, millions of people dying and the world at risk, and then just shrinking it down to the smallest possible version of that story, but still making it feel like there's a whole world, there's a whole other story going on outside. So you did a great job at pulling that off and keeping the viewers engaged.
Was the alien and bunker and all of that like inspired by your military career?
I think I mean, this is definitely in the fun side.
Somebody specified to talk about aliens. I don't
I see where you're leading me. Yeah. That one time outside of Area 51. I think that, we knew that we're making, again, this is sort of a Twilight Zone-y, like if you pop this on at 11:30 at night, you're like, ooh, hey, I got 6 people in a bunker. Who's going to make it? And the aliens, So the authenticity, I think that when you do something specific, if you were a neurosurgeon, a bricklayer, I mean, anything, you're going to watch in the military, you watch things, you're like, that better be real. I knew there was no way that we were going to be keeping anything real. This is hyper real. This isn't Arrival.
Yeah.
It is like, ooh, hard science. This might be how it really goes down. This is fun. But there was my Ranger buddy, Mike Taylor, came out, like I said, helped build a Star Trek door. Then he's with the guy driving it, and he's got his real military kit. We sourced another military kit for the handler. We tried where we could to, there was a little lingo in there that we tried to keep about what might be said. But this was a project where we weren't going to be able to be like anywhere close to super real, but keep little nuggets of truth in there, or anyone who might have military experience and be like, oh, I had that kit, or that was on my kit, or I got that M4, just little things. I will say on a thematic level to why I think the way I feel about it, like I looked up to, Oliver Stone as a director, just these guys like, oh my goodness, the German, we love him. The birds, they shriek in horror. Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
Like these filmmakers that have gone and done something. I believe, was not Cronenberg a doctor before he started making movies?
I believe so.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I think bringing real world experience and life experience, and that's the kind of filmmaker that I looked up to. And I was like, I need to go get some life experience. So thematically, I would say, even though you don't have to go make Saving Private Ryan because you're in the military and you're going to keep it real, there's life experiences you have. So as small of and fun of a movie as The Bunker is, Michelle saying goodbye to family, Michelle is really going out on there's imminent danger. And, anyone in the service, especially while I was serving and deploying, what those final Zoom calls or the week you have to go visit family before you deploy, you do know what those moments feel like. And whether it's the super realistic version or you just feel comfortable in your portrayal, like this is the more fun version, but I guess I honestly know what this moment feels like, even though it's going to be a fun sci-fi flick. So that was important to me. And then being unsure when you're new to something at that level, you go into a military unit, you're the new guy, it's all new to you. And your team leader, your squad leader, your platoon sergeant, they've been doing it for 2, 5, 10 years. And you just thrown in the mix and you really need to catch up fast. And you can see like Michelle is clearly the new person who they don't believe can keep up with the tempo, the operational tempo. And that's kind of her challenge. So is this super realistic? No, but there is, I think thematically and some things that I've lived through, you'd like to have some insight into what your characters are going through.
But
I was just gonna say, I definitely felt like that played into the psychological horror and the feelings of isolation and like missing her family as well. So that's great that you brought that in.
Yeah, I think any real world specifics, I think that always comes through in a movie because it's one of those things that's almost ironic that the more specific you get, the more universal it becomes. And so when you put in those details and those things, those experiences you've had, then people can connect to this because it feels real, because it is coming from a real place, which then later on, when you're talking about the science aspects, we can kind of buy into that more because everything else before has felt real. So we can just go with it like, well, I don't know what they're talking about exactly, but but I can believe it. So
it absolutely. And as we were making the movie originally, Dr. Michelle Riley was Mike when Charles and I were writing this.
I read that. Yeah, that's so interesting.
Given the moment, the COVID moment, it was like, well, it's not kind of the way you first imagined it. It's what can you do and who's best, like drafting in the NFL or pro sports, best available, not how whatever your ideal, it's best available. And Chelsea Edmundson is a really good friend, and she was in The Black String and a fantastic actress. And she's just old enough to pull off like that you're a doctor, you're a younger,
scientist,
PhD level microbiologist. But it was who's willing to come out and just push through with us and be here day in and day out during a really rough time. And we just kind of shifted it from, it's Mike Riley, we need to go cast a guy. It's like, no, we got this fantastic actress friend who is down to do this. It's so easy. Mike is now Michelle. And we're going to have to tweak a few things. Now Chad's character, Sam, it now has a reason to kind of be a little overly flirtatious, more than a boss ought to be. And as that started to evolve, I actually saw the story kind of here in Los Angeles, or a big city where so many younger people leave their hometown and they go to, chase opportunity and make a name for themselves. And it can be very lonely. And here in Los Angeles, it's a classic tale. People at first are quite lonely, living in an apartment in a new town. They left everything behind. They left their family. They left comfort. They left things that they had established to just start anew. And there's it can be a very lonely place for people until they kind of find their new tribe. And obviously COVID was happening and people were feeling isolated, but I saw in Michelle's journey, yes, she's talking to a bunch of scientists, but she could be at a new corporate office where she's being doubted. It's like gal leaves a small town and takes a job in the big city, and she's kind of regretting it the whole time. I'm feeling guilty. Should I not have left my family behind? Were they right? Were they right to say you should stay with family? But she took the big swing.
You know, you could have set this at Christmas. It could have been a Hallmark movie, you know?
Oh my goodness. By the way, if anyone wants to make that movie, you really need to, because the one thing Hallmark doesn't have is a good science fiction Christmas movie set in a bunker.
Alien invasion Christmas movie.
This is when multi-million-dollar ideas are born.
It came upon a midnight clear, right? Isn't that right? No? Okay.
Is that
workshopping?
4 sequels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were your direct inspirations? Because I picked up on a few things. I'll just throw them at you and see if this was going through your head at all. 10 Cloverfield Lane, Event Horizon.
Absolutely, yeah.
The Thing, with all, the group of people trying to figure out something with an alien and doing tests. And then surprisingly, was Clumsy the Roomba your version of Wilson from Castaway?
You know what? Yes. And Wilson was invoked many times. I don't think Wilson came first. My wife and I had just gotten a Roomba. And we knew, the big thing about making, and for everyone who hasn't seen this movie, it's halfway a Zoom movie. We are doing the cinematic regular movie treatment with Michelle in her bunker. She just interacts with everyone via Zoom. So isolated and lonely, she needed a little something to connect with. And I don't know if you guys have gotten a Roomba or anybody. There's this kind of funny week-long phase where you stare at it and watch it and almost kind of think it's a pet.
Yeah, we had one, and it was so loud that we got rid of it.
Yeah, it's the dog that was just too wild and barked too loud. So I was like, I think that she just has a Roomba that becomes her Wilson. So yeah, I'm glad that you picked up on that, because you can only be so isolated. You got to give people something it could have been a fish, right? In a little bowl. But it's a Roomba. A Roomba's fine.
It's more personality. It's more fun. And I won't spoil anything, but there's a moment where I kind of feel bad. You can kind of almost feel the emotion coming off the Roomba. Now, do you think that Clumsy the Roomba could win in a fight against Wilson the volleyball? Or who do you think is taking that?
With no human assistance, Roomba wins. Yeah, Roomba has autonomy, the ability to move on its own. It's going to push Wilson out of the way. However, if Wilson is being used by, let's say, Tom Cruise or Val Kilmer during the Top Gun volleyball scene, and has just been spiked right into Clumsy the Roomba, then in that scenario, Wilson wins.
Might have to do a BattleBots crossover, see who would win that.
To the movies that you mentioned, all of them were, even though we reverse engineered this, we didn't say let's make Event Horizon. We knew we weren't just going to make a science fiction movie. Although Andromeda Strain is another movie that actually were really this whole phase by phase scientific experiment. Let's do this experiment, and then let's do this experiment and add this enzyme. It's very Andromeda Strain in that regard, but Event Horizon was definitely that horror science fiction, cosmic, if you will, cosmic horror, unknowing sight. You don't know, am I seeing is what's happening really happening or not? So Event Horizon was definitely an inspiration. And then Contact, films like Contact of just are the debate. Do we trust the aliens or do we not trust the aliens? And that's a big that's a big theme going through. You've got your camp that trusts the aliens, and then you've got the camp, they're here just to make contact. This is a breakthrough in human history, galactic history. And then you have your people that are blow them out of the sky now.
Yeah.
Which is always a classic debate in any science fiction movie when the spaceship shows up in the sky.
You just got to wait for them to send their beam down, and you attack right at that moment. I saw it in a documentary called Independence Day. But
you hack them. You just get your laptop out, and you find their you just hack the mainframe and you bring the whole ship down.
But I like the idea of developing a bioweapon. And I was wondering, is it any influence from the substance? It's like the same green color.
The substance. Oh, yeah. Well,
Reanimator even.
Yeah, Reanimator. Again, because this movie is here to be fun.
Yeah.
Darkly fun, if you will. Yes, it was like anything that we can brighten up and make fun. And for sure, Andrew Baird, who works with Paper Street, the cinematographer for Shelby Oaks, he colored this. And we had great sessions. I'm going to give a shout out for all the post-production colleagues and fellow nerds out there. We edited this film on DaVinci Resolve, and obviously colored it there as well on a shared project. So with Andrew in Austin and me here and Charles here in Los Angeles, we had great Zoom sessions while he was coloring live. And it would be like, hey, could you make that glow? Could you make that little vial, that little serum glow green? And he's like, give me 30 seconds. Yeah. And then it's like, dude, that's like Reanimator. Exactly.
Dude, nice. I noticed that you edit under a different name. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, Brian Dragoman. That's my mom's maiden name, Dragoman. And there's to my knowledge, God, we might be the last Dragomans. So that's my third. I have 4 names. My last name's Hanson, but I also have my mom's maiden name, Dragoman. And everybody is just like, Dragoman, damn, dude, what is that? So wearing so many hats as I do, it's like, hey, let's give Dragoman some love out here.
Yeah, that's a great name to stand out. It's a good, people will remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so funny that we share so much in common, from having our world premiere at the same festival to working with Paper Street. I've worked with them on, I think, like half a dozen different projects. So I was on Shelby Oaks. I got to work with Baird, and he shot that movie beautifully.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But you also you said you were into cosmic horror, and you've also done a 6-episode series, and we are currently in the process of editing a 6-episode cosmic horror series.
No way! Wow, we have more to talk about.
Yes, this might be like in your movie. We might be getting in each other's brains here. But yeah, I would love to hear about maybe your interest in cosmic horror. I know you're making a documentary, or your 6-episode series, Night Visions, which intrigued me because it included your military knowledge, and it was also made for like a streamer, Vet TV. It's like a veteran streaming service. That's so fascinating. Yeah. Can you tell us about it?
Yep. So that John Acevedo over at Vet TV reached out. I'm a member of a few nonprofits out here now that I am a veteran, and my Hollywood chapter 2, if you will, Veterans in Media and Entertainment, also known as VME, countrywide organization that helps veterans connect, mentorship, help them understand the entertainment industry, because it's a very difficult one to get your hands around, or your mind and brains and arms around. And Vet TV is they've been around for a while, and they do really darkly satirical humor, often barracks sort of humor, super inside baseball stuff that you almost have to be a veteran to understand it. And they've been expanding recently to kind of do bigger scoped projects, including some amazing, really, tough documentaries in Ukraine, or following new combat techniques and strategies in the world of drones. Like they're doing all sorts of cool stuff. Anyways, this was I'm into genre, horror, sci-fi, thriller stuff, and I pitched them sort of like a Twilight Zone or Creep Show, but set in the military. And it's like, we haven't done that yet. Let's do it. So we got a great team together, and it is definitely in the vein of sort of a creep show, except we do follow the same characters all the way through. But it's got that fun, it's talking tattoo and fighting gargoyles and wizards coming out of nowhere, wise wizards coming out of nowhere to talk to you. So I had a lot of fun with that. We're doing a sort of second window, a little expanded version that is so lean and really oriented towards military folks that I think some context for a broader audience, they'd be missing context. So that's something that is being worked on, and then that'll go out on a platform that more people, that'll to be determined, but horror audiences will find it more easily. Night Visions. It was fun. It was really fun, and I did that one. We were talking about the bunker. I kind of touched on a little bit of military stuff, but it was really about having fun. That was like keeping it real, keeping it on the funny side of real.
It's funny because our 6-episode horror series is also an anthology, except you follow 3 characters throughout as well, mm-hmm. and we find out their story, and we were like, wow, this is such a fresh, original idea. I don't think anyone's done an anthology where you're also following the same characters. You've already done it.
I'd love to hear, more about this. We mainly follow our main protagonist, Private Smith. Just a good old, we don't even know his first name. It's just Private Smith. But then one episode we hop out, we follow his team leader, his mean, overbearing, hard-ass team leader, Sergeant Voss. We just do one episode where we just kind of favor him. It's kind of his story. So it's in an anthology. There's a little bit of looseness, even though you use the same characters, you can kind of explore different things as opposed to a more episodic, narrative arc. I don't know how loose you guys got with exploring different things, but I think that's the fun of an anthology.
Yeah, getting to go in like any different direction. Real quick, I want to take it back to the bunker. I just had one more question about that. What was it like directing Tobin Bell and
Tony Todd?
Tony Todd.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and as expected, when you work with more experienced actors, even as independent filmmakers, you often you're working with friends or newer actors, and as a director, sometimes you feel like you got to pull things out or almost like puppeteer, but you don't, because those early on experiences, they're also learning, and those folks maybe aren't there yet either. When you do start to work with like really seasoned actors and beyond, they bring it, and now you're kind of given many great options, mm-hmm. and you're like, oh, this is a pleasure. I get both A, B, and C are both great options, are all great options. Which one do I want to go with? So Tony was really interested in my military experience, and he knew he was playing a military veteran who is now a government worker at high level, top secret operations, DARPA level stuff. And again, just for a fun little movie, it mattered. Like, where did I serve? What unit was I in? How many years did I deploy? Like, he really wanted this backstory. And even on set, Denise, played by Debbie Fan, he's like, I think Lawrence has a little thing for Dr. Denise. And I'm like, really? Okay. He's like, not going to say anything, but it's there. And it was like, oh, wow. Like this stuff isn't even in the script, and he's just building this world. And, I'm going to, hey, props, do you have anything? What do you have? Just loose things. And prop department comes over with just a bucket of random stuff. And he grabs this like fuzzy little pink ball, kind of like maybe a little girl's toy sort of thing. And he's like, this is from Lawrence's daughter. He keeps it to remind her. So he's just doing all these little things that were just completely his idea. And just a pleasure. And his voice does so much work. And he's just automatic. You really are, as a director, choosing between good and really good options, not as maybe on those early short films with your friends, you're trying to drag people to the finish line. And then Tobin Bell, Same thing. He just came in, and again, they both get to play like fatherly figures. They're known, as Candyman and Jigsaw, kind of like great iconic antagonists. But here we play them both ways. We want people to still get a taste of what they're known for, but really we leaned into, let's see that fatherly, like Obi-Wan Kenobi side of these two characters. And Tobin just came in, and Chelsea, such a great actress, and her brother, played by Spencer Langston, they just bonded almost immediately, like, hey, Dad, because Tobin's playing their father, and they're hanging out on the couch and talking. And Tobin was just an absolute pleasure. Like, neither of them had any pretense, I'm bigger than your little indie movie. They made us feel like the most important thing, and they were giving it 100% and all positivity. And when you hear, again, see them, but when you hear their rich baritone voices, I don't know, deep voices.
Yeah, there's so much gravitas. You just immediately pay attention to what they're saying. And that's great that when you're working with experienced actors who can bring so much to their roles, and all these things that you didn't think of that bring the characters to life. And that's, I feel like the director's job is to assemble the best team for the job. Yep. And if you do your job right, most of your work is in pre-production. That's, when you make all those decisions about who to bring on board and who to cast, then you can kind of let everyone do their thing. And then you can help just guide that vision. But that's what a gift to work with them and for them to deliver so much. I do think that if they had maybe put the aliens in a saw trap, and then maybe, Candyman could have, sent some bees after them, I think they would have won.
So trying to do something, Charles, co-writer and producer, had this great idea. It's like, they don't, we were living in the COVID world. They're not on the set at the same time. Story-wise, they wouldn't have been either. But he said, we have to put them in the same scene. So there is a scene about midway through the movie that we created in post-production. It didn't have to go down that way, but great idea, Charles, like, mash them up. Give people who are here to see Tony and Tobin, give them a moment to see literally the Candyman and Jigsaw just going back and forth. Super fast.
I made a note. Yeah, I made a note of that scene because I was like, "Oh, I know what they're doing." You have the image of both of them on screen at the same time. You got to do that. So I
had to do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to say real quickly that this was a really tiny crew. This was truly a DIY operation, and we had a couple awesome, sort of angel investors that you find through friends and people who were like, hey, cool, you got a cool little movie, let's go make a movie. I mean, it was really the old school hustle of just going out there and seeing who's interested in making a movie during a tough time. But we only had, and big shout out to Mount St. Mary's University, to be honest, how much in kind was there and opportunities that don't exist in normal situations. But that's indie filmmaking. You always find the free camera. You always find the location that it's at a super discounted rate. But we shot that with a 2-man camera lighting team. That was Roman Zins and Lucky. Roman, the cinematographer, and Lucky, the gaffer. And then my buddy Chad came out for a little assistant camera work here and there. But that whole thing that just looks amazing was handled by a 2-person camera and G&E team. Like, literally just 2 people handled all of that.
Wow.
So that is, I have to mention that.
That's amazing. Sometimes I feel like you can get the best work done with a smaller crew because you have more, control. And
I think nowadays we're so lucky to be making films now because you don't need a lot of resources and it can be so minimal. And that's kind of what did it for us is it took years for me to finally believe in myself that I could do this because, I started working on other sets and I started to see that they didn't have the biggest teams or all the resources. And then I would see movies like Tangerine or
love it. Yeah.
Unsane. And you're sitting in a movie theater and you're like, this was shot on an iPhone and it kind of looks like ass, but they made a movie. And so then when we can go off and make Old Wounds, there was 5 of us that we made an entire feature film just like on our phones, basically. So I love that we're at a point where you can just have two people that can go shoot great footage that looks great. So just what a lucky time to be able to be doing this.
Absolutely. I'm a huge found footage fan, and it is, I'm always impressed. What blows me away, and it started with Blair Witch, obviously, for so many of us, when kind of the idea of found footage got, although I'm not the only one who said this. I think that Cannibal Holocaust is probably one of the first real found footage films. It's literally, they found footage and now they're just going to show it to us. I love it. Just to pull people into this reality. That's the magic. And it's hard, because if you don't do it, the whole thing is shot. Like, you watch a movie, you're watching something fake, and it's you suspend, your disbeliefs and suspension of disbelief. But found footage, you've committed that this is happening. This is real. And that is a razor's edge. I have the biggest respect, and I enjoy what you found footage filmmakers are able to do, because that's magic in a bottle.
Well, thank you. And I love to hear that, because I think found footage is still kind of looked down upon or considered lesser. But it's been making a really big comeback, which we're really excited about. But I think you're exactly right that it has to feel real, like ultimately above everything. As soon as you get a false line reading or something that doesn't register as true, people are immediately ripped out of it. And for me personally, those bigger Hollywood movies, it's almost like the opposite of what you did with The Bunker, in that, like, with The Bunker, you had to have a lot of post-production to add all these elements and polish and to make it really like shine, And with us, we go in the opposite direction of like, how can we make this beat up and shitty? And so, we improv. All our movies are improv. We work off an outline, but we want those like real reactions and real emotions. So it's just such a different way of making movies. But I love that it doesn't matter. Like, both movies can still coexist and can have world premieres at the same festival. And so,
absolutely. No, I really am. Like, I look up the found footage as like, how do you do that when it happens? I love, the VHS anthology series, or just, man, some of those entries in those are mind blowing. It's like, wow.
Do you have any interest in working in found footage, or I know you're making a documentary on cosmic horror?
Yeah, I'd take a swing at it sometime. I think, I really came, again, as an independent filmmaker, like, influenced by Blair Witch, and then Paranormal Activity I was doubtful of. I'm like, you can't do Blair Witch again.
Yeah.
And then Paranormal, I said, it would be scary doing Blair Witch in the house or an apartment, because you're not lost in the woods. I don't think anyone could pull that off. And then, 5 years later, or whatever, Paranormal Activity comes out, I'm like, they pulled it off.
Yeah.
And since then, there's been so many good entries into found footage. I definitely would love to take a swing sometime, but I think you got to know. I'd make a few shorts and see, just saying, kind of test it out, because it's playing a different kind of music, as you said. You got to be in tune with that poetry, if you will.
Yeah. Well, it is the perfect time to do it. Blair Witch is coming back. Paranormal Activity is coming back. There's a film festival called Unnamed Footage Fest, which is all found footage. That's actually at the end of this month. We have some friends who are playing movies there. Our friend Carson has a movie called The Killing Cell. Our friend Anthony has Frogman Returns. But this is the perfect time to be learning this and doing this, and for making things at a micro budget and experimenting. So I would love to see what you come up with. But what's next for you then?
Well, you said it, the Cosmic Horror documentary. Charles Bunce, Mark Maley, who also co-produced on The Bunker, and a few other colleagues I've worked with on several projects. We've been working on this for a few years, and on the back the back burner as slaving away on post-production for The Bunker and then jumped into night visions. But this is a year we're going to knock it out, wrap it up. People are excited because it's such a fun topic. Everyone, cosmic horror, either they're like, I love cosmic horror, and they're really able to give the definition, or they're like, what is cosmic horror? And they want to know more about it. We've interviewed Benson and Moorhead, who are Lovecraftian indie icons. Like, they didn't even know, by their own admission, they didn't know that they were making Lovecraftian type films until someone told them.
And now they're the greatest inspirations. We recently saw a screening of Man Finds Tape, which our friend Brian is in, but they produced that, and it's in the same kind of cosmic horror.
That just came out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have to, as we said, we're still making this documentary, so there's even more to catch up on. When we talked to them probably last year, we sat down, did a great interview with them. Something in the Dirt had come out not too long ago. So now that they, under their Rustic Films, I believe it is, has another cosmic horror entry, we're going to have to dive into that. All independent filmmakers should really study what Benson and Moorhead did, because they've done it right.
Yeah, the fact they were able to build a following from Resolution onwards, and to do this weird cosmic horror thing that's so specific to them, and building out a whole world that doesn't feel forced, where the movies connect. And then the fact that they can do it both, her and I, because we operate at such a micro budget level, obviously we want bigger opportunities, but it's good knowing, well, if we never get those big opportunities, or if those take years, we can still go make little things. And for them, they can go and make Moon Knight and Daredevil, and then turn around and go make a movie in their apartment with 3 of them,
They're doing their Soderbergh. Yeah, they're on that Soderbergh track.
Yeah.
Like, gonna go do a studio project, and then I'm gonna go make a film on my iPhone with 4 friends.
Yeah.
What a place to be.
Right.
Well, you should definitely check out, because I know with like cosmic horror, H.P. Lovecraft, Anthony, we mentioned his movie Frogman, and then Frogman Returns. He took inspiration from H.P. Lovecraft, and there's kind of a
little Shadow over Innsmouth vibe might be happening there.
That's exactly what it is. And then also there's a group of filmmakers that's always at Unnamed Footage Fest. They're called the Horror Dads, but they're also like military or ex-military, and they're
that'd be great to
in found footage. So they have a series called Tahoe Joe, but like, I just love that this is what it's about. Like you said, it's about when you make this stuff, and especially in isolation, and you could be in post for months or years, and often it can be so isolating. And ultimately, what's the payoff? What's the win? And it's the fact that you made a movie in a bad situation with COVID, and you used what you had, and you got it out, and now it's out, and you can talk about it, and you can meet people and be part of that community. And so now it's like, we've known you for 51 and a half minutes, but it feels like already, like, we have so much shared commonality that I feel like if next time we see it, be like we were pals for years,
100%. It's a camaraderie. It's being in the trenches. I'm telling you, when I was already making movies or short films, and gone to film school, and worked as a PA on big projects. And when I went to the military, I was like, this is much more Spartan and harsh, but there is the structure and the department specificity, and just the moving. You're here on a film to, like, we have a set period of time. We need to complete the mission. We have a clear objective, and everyone has to go about it. The military is very similar. And when I came back, I was like, yeah, there is sort of a military structure to films, which breeds this in the trenches camaraderie and this sort of gallows humor. And I know you've been in the suck, or like you've dealt with it. Oh, you were out all night in the woods trying to shoot something when the camera went down. Oh man, yeah. I've been there too. And it's just this instant bond with people who have really been through it. And I think I've heard you say on previous podcasts, it's not trying to jump into Steven Spielberg's circle because he's handled. He doesn't need you in his circle. It's building your own circle and organically and naturally just building these bonds, and what you're working on each other's projects, or you're seeing each other at festivals again, and 2 years later you see them again and they're growing and you're growing, and rising tide raises all ships, or someone makes it and is able to bring friends up with them, or maybe you're the one who makes it and you can bring somebody up. But it's really that it's your peers and your colleagues. It's not the people that are already several steps ahead of you. It's really who you're around right now. And I've met so many great people, from Fright Fest to Trieste to Sitges to Popcorn Frights to HP Lovecraft Film Festival, Film Quest, and they become your alumni group.
Yeah.
And everyone starts cheering for everybody. So I know you talk about that a lot, and just gutting it out to all the indie filmmakers out there. Like, there's dark times at 3 a.m. when your computer crashes and it looks like your drive is dead and you're like, why did I do this? It just get the project done. Like, step outside, drink a coffee, do what you got to do, but get back in there, take a day off, but just complete the mission.
Yeah.
Because it's when you're done is when you can take a deep breath and be like, we did it, and you will be in a better place than you were. You've done something, and that's what matters. What have you done as you sort of build a resume in a portfolio?
Yeah. That's so encouraging to hear, because we're kind of in a place right now where we've shot several things, but we haven't actually gotten all the way to the finish line with anything yet. So we're like almost there with Old Wounds, and it's,
it's been a long process. But you got to hang in there and just believe, trust the process.
But it can be harder than you ever expected. That's the thing. It's like, well, I'm sure that I'll get hit with 3 torpedoes, but I'll make it. It's like, dude, you might get hit by 20 torpedoes. Like, as soon as you think you've conquered one thing, you get hit by even a bigger challenge. That's filmmaking. We love Hearts of Darkness, the documentary about Apocalypse Now, right? These movies, Lost in La Mancha. It's like, this is filmmaking. Like,
and you
bond to endure.
Yeah, you bond so much with the people around you through that experience. And so, to kind of wrap it up, it's very fitting, because I've always heard it said that at the best of times, filmmaking is like summer camp, and at the worst of times, it's like going to war. So to hear you directly draw that parallel between the military and filmmaking, it's just really fitting. But so thank you so much for chatting with us today. Check out The Bunker, available now. Is that everywhere?
Yeah, Amazon, Apple, Fandango, DirecTV. Yeah, all the usual places. Obviously not Netflix or like a SVOD type thing, but anywhere that you want to rent or buy, it's everywhere.
Yeah. And where can people find you online?
I got Instagram, so at Hanson with an O, Hanson 375. That's 3rd Ranger Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, Hanson 375. And then Black Nine Productions, Black Nine Pictures is my little company. We have a website, Black with the Roman numerals IX.
Okay.
Perfect.
Pictures.
Now I got a message from a guy that looked exactly like you. His name was Brian Dragaman.
Yeah, that guy.
I didn't know. I just wanted to be safe. Well, thanks so much, Brian.
Thank
you. Really thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Love your podcast. Love the vibe, and just letting filmmakers hear like the real side of making indies, but also keeping it positive. We need that. So thanks for letting me be a part of this.
Thanks, Brian.